this one thing whenever somebody got a brand new job, and that was happening all the time, especially in some of the companies that are around that have like a lot of employees. I would always say one real quick, easy thing for me to give to you as a little gift is do something really awesome in the first 6 months. Do something really awesome that can be measured in the first 6 months, and don't pick the hardest thing. Because once you have gotten over that hump in a new job and you've been able to demonstrate that you can do something, then you can settle down and everybody else will stop watching for what you're going to do. And that was a trick that was a gift in two ways. One, it gave them hope, and it gave that person, and I did this with myself too, for every job that I undertook and everything that I tried to do. It doesn't always work beautifully, but it is really cool, because what happens is then someone starts to believe in themselves and they take a direction. And I'm a very fond believer in energy follows focus.
I just wrote it down. I was like, I wanted to get, so please share.
You heard me say that.
Yeah.
Wherever you focus whatever you focus your attention, that's where your energy goes. So if you have one thing, and you can have sub things, because you have to, we have to look at more than one thing. But if you have one thing that you can really focus on doing excellently, that's where your energy is going to go. If you have a whole bunch of things, guess what? Your energy, not only will it get zapped, but everything's going to get a little bit, nothing's going to get done. So when we talk about energy following focus, it goes for everything in our life. If we're focused on positive, guess what we're going to be seeing? Positive. And that's another one of my mantras. But if we're focused on what can't be done, guess what? We're not going to be able to do it. So the secret sauce for companies that I have had the privilege of leading was to show up as that leader that believed that people were better than they even think they are, because most people are. And that together, if we have a common unified goal and it's articulated and we're focused on it as an organization, that we will achieve it.
So this brings me to something. So you're a leader who's always been known for building great teams, for building great cultures at the organizations that you led. However, you were doing that in a time period where culture was definitely a nice to have, certainly not a needed thing. And yet what you keep saying too is it wasn't that you were doing this and it doesn't sound soft at all in how I'm hearing you. It's tied to an objective, it's tied to a 6-month thing, it's tied to a this. So I know people have always been important, but can you speak a little bit about how you've held culture and the importance of creating that positive workspace, and how that relates to the actual hard.
Oh yeah, results.
Yeah, the results.
The results and the accountability and
Yeah.
all those words that people are afraid of, which I was never afraid of. So that was part of the secret. But here's the other thing, and I'm going to start back and then move forward with this a little bit. And that is, I've always believed that you are no better than your weakest link. And it's been really important to me, very important to me, to find people to do the job that they need to do that are better than me at doing it. Otherwise, I'm going to micromanage them and tell them what to do, and then I don't need them.
Not a normal quality for leaders. So right, in both directions. One, to know that you didn't want to micromanage. Also, that's hard for a lot of leaders.
Yeah.
But to genuinely be on the search for someone who's better in a certain area, also not maybe typical or normal, but certainly of the best of the highest echelon of leaders.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think you're right. I think when we see people who are threatened by somebody who is really outstanding, a real star or whatever, they think that that's going to diminish their importance or their contribution. For me, it was always additive. always additive. And yeah, I've had my moments where I love to be on the stage and I love to be, part of that. One of the things that was always said to me by my board is, I don't know how you're getting the results that you're getting, you're too nice. Too nice. And I remember saying to one person, specifically, I have the picture in my mind right now, being kind doesn't mean that you're not tough. Being kind doesn't mean that you don't have expectations and standards. But here's what happens when you create a culture where people feel like they're connected and they're contributing and they feel valued or appreciated and they feel like they are bringing something to the table and they're getting something back. So it's that learning and growing experience. What happens is everyone that high tide lifts the whole boat. And the more you have people that are doing that, your ordinary people achieve extraordinary things. Because we're all ordinary people. But no one can do it alone. And I love baseball and basketball and football and all of those analogies because I grew up in a with a lot of boys and a real dominant dad. And I often, use some metaphors around that. And one of them is, when you have an organization that has some star players, you need to also lift up the players that are supporting the stars. Because if those stars try to be out on their own, and I'll just reference Reggie Jackson was an amazing baseball player. Now I've really dated myself. And they called him Mr. October and all of that. But when he was on the Angels team, they never won a pennant. Why? Because the team didn't have the gravitas. The team wasn't connected and focused and supporting each other. You can watch it all around us with many examples, political, public, sports, whatever. When somebody stands alone as the outstanding one, the higher you go, the harder you fall unless you've got people around you. And so for me, the reason that I thought that it was the most important was to give credit where credit's due and not worry about what people were saying about me specifically, is because when we win, we all win.
Yep.
And that's really, really the main thing. So that for me was an amazing thing. I had some amazing mentors along the path that really helped drill that in.
Yeah, you're seemingly naturally very positive person, but you also mentioned that you've had great mentors, from early. I want to talk about the mindset of being so positive, right? For a moment, I guess first question is, was it born that way, or was it something you learned? Was it something that you, what happened, and how did that how did that work for you?
These are crazy stories. I mean, you just gave me something that I haven't thought about for a long time. But, I think I've always been kind of an exuberant person, sort of bubbly, really wanting to make things happen. I often joked with my parents along the years that I popped out of the womb saying, okay, you go here, you do this, let's do that. I was not a particularly good athletic person. I individually excelled in certain things. But I learned early on, when there were 8 of us and we lived in a cul-de-sac and there were 8 of us and we were under the 8 under the age of 10, with a 10-year span, and as we were growing, that I was never going to be good at, the good batter, or the good pitcher, or the good basketball player, or whatever. So I decided that I was going to be the coach. And I was really good at it. I was really good at being the coach. And so I was being interviewed when we were bringing Fredericks of Hollywood out of Chapter 11 by a very high-level, prestigious equity firm chairman. And he was wanting to put money into the company. It was going to be one of the stocking horses. And he said to me, took me to dinner one night, and he looked at me and he goes, okay, I want to know, when did you know you were a leader?
Mm.
And I looked at him and I go, God, no one has ever asked me that question before. And without skipping a beat, I said, I think it was when I was 7 years old. And he said, what? And I said, well, I was the oldest of a lot of kids. And I lived on a block where there were tons of kids. It was the height of the baby boom. And I started a club. And I named myself the president, so I guess I really knew I was the leader.
There it is.
But it was funny. And I think back and I do believe that that's when I recognized, you know what, if I'll do this. I'll do this because I know they can all do things that I can't do. But I know I can do this.
Yeah.